Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Dream Oracle for You. This is episode 9 with your hosts, Sarah and Billiana. Today, we're going to talk about, we have one question. We've actually have posted a poll already on our community page on YouTube. And that question is simply, do you dream in color? So, Billiana, I think we're just going to jump. I've already started, so we're just going to jump right in. Would you like to tell
Yeah.
us, do you dream in color?
No, I don't. I don't think I do. I don't, doesn't mean that it's no color and it's just black and white. I feel it's more like a bit of a, grayscale kind of thing. And I was thinking about this today when you asked me this the other day. And yeah, so it was more so not really vivid colors.
Mm.
So that makes sense. So and then the links that you sent me through, all the bit of information that I read, that they were talking about how when you have childhood memories or any memories that are suppressed, or if you don't recall some memories, that can affect your way that you perceive your dreams. So, yeah, seeing more in black and white. And I was like, oh, that's interesting because I don't really remember my childhood. So, could that potentially be the reason? Who would know? So yeah.
No, that's awesome. I actually, you must have read the links in more detail than I did, to be honest, because I missed that part about the connection to childhood. What I've read is, and there's no consensus across the board on why some people dream in grayscale versus color and whatnot. And maybe it's time to throw out some statistics for our audience that supposedly there was a study and they've determined that about 75% of people dream in color, 13% never dream in color, and 12% rarely dream in color. So I wonder, BB or Billiana, where you fall into that. Are you the are you the 13% that never dreams, or are you the 12% that rarely dreams? Um, and there's a couple angles in which they've tried to explain why somebody would dream in grayscale versus color. But honestly, neither of those really resonate with me. So what has resonated with me though is what you just said, and that I didn't come across in my reading. But some explanations are if you grew up as a child and you were exposed to black and white like TV, then you would dream in black and white. The other avenue is that it kind of depends on what dreams really are. And I don't know if we've actually talked about what dreams are. We kind of loosely talked about it, I guess. But if dreams are indeed our like kind of our memory, representing our memory, whether that's past lives, current, whatever it may be, or if we're accessing other dimensions and are having memories of those experiences in other dimensions, then is the grayscale actually your ability to recall from memory? And is it just that your memory of the dream is in grayscale as opposed to in color? For myself, I'm full on vivid colors, like as it would be as if I'm however the world I see the world as I'm awake is also how I see it as I'm asleep, which is different. It's kind of cool that we're on opposite spectrums here.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And yeah, when I was reading that article about the like depending it was more like back in the day where they had just black and white media. And it was when they brought in color is when people started to dream in color. But I've never grew up with black and white, so I wonder if is it to do with your environment rather than the media like black or white or color, what you um, take in, I suppose. And I think maybe it's got to do with your emotion as well. If you're um, comfortable and you feel safe, you're going to absorb things around you when you're awake
Hmm.
a lot more than someone that's like in survival mode and all they're doing is trying to survive and trying to be safe in themselves, and then not even paying attention to the trees and the birds and all that sort of thing. So potentially that could be a thing. So like your environment. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like I said at the start, there isn't a consensus. And one thing I've noticed when I was researching this is there actually is not very much research out there at all. You know, the paper that I found where they talked about the black and white TV, that's coming, that was done in 2008. And I found one paper from like 2003 that was kind of saying something similar. And before that, it was like research that was done in like the 60s or, you know, way back when. Um, so it's just fascinating that nobody researches or talks about this sort of thing. Um, the comment about it being related to your environment and, you know, kind of how you're feeling, like if you're feeling safe and all of that, that kind of resonates with me. But then, I mean, I don't take you as somebody who doesn't feel safe. So, you know, the fact that you're dreaming in black and white and I'm dreaming in color, like, yes, we have different backgrounds and different, you know, places where we are in our journey and stuff, but you don't come across to me as somebody who would have, and I could be wrong, you know, I'm still getting to know you. Um, but what you first said when we opened about it being related to repressed memories, if indeed your dreams are memory related, and if you have, it would make sense to me that if you have repressed memories, that it means that you're not going to know what those memories are, or you're only going to remember, you know, small, maybe small bits of it that you would dream in grayscale. I don't know. To me, this is like an absolute fascinating topic because I never really thought about it until I don't know, what was I reading? I was reading the 10,000 Dreams Interpreted, I think, and they mentioned about dreaming in color. And I was like, wait, dreaming in color, that means there's people who don't dream in color? That it just sparked this whole podcast episode idea. So yeah, it's fascinating. Dear listeners, we would love to know, I guess, if you dream in color or not. If you have any insight or things you'd like to share, feel free to leave us a comment. And as I said, we've posted a fun little poll just to see, you know, who dreams in color and who doesn't. I spent the last couple of days asking like my roommate and my friends and whatnot, like, do you dream in color? And everybody's like, yeah, yeah, of course we do. My sister was like, she's like, I dream in color. Doesn't everybody dream in color? I was like, no, apparently not. Apparently, like
Oh,
25% do not dream all the time. So,
yeah, I forgot to ask my mum if she dreams in color. I know she dreams. My housemate doesn't remember his dreams, so he's kind of yeah, can't really ask him.
yeah, yeah, no, that makes sense.
So
When I
yeah,
first,
that's probably a good thing to like ask people that we know. Like I don't know, be the weirdo walking down the street and just have a piece of paper. Do you dream in color? No. Like,
it's funny. Oh, why not? You know?
down the corner and just go, hey, come talk to Billy. Come talk to Sarah. Yeah, tell us about your dreams.
And they're like, who is this person?
That's it. I suppose that's the only way to find out, like, is to have conversations with people about about them. So because if we're not doing an experiment where you've got a group of people, you got access to people that are willing to, do, certain methods, activities, or whatever, then you kind of just got to have conversations with people. And I think that's the simplest way to find out. Just
Oh,
like you and I are having conversations, we're learning about each other as we go. So, yeah, it's great.
yeah, absolutely. And thinking about the experiment that reminded me, I read one part of I think it was like kind of a critique of the research paper, and that is that often these research studies, for some reason, they're asking people about their dreams, like, it might be days or weeks or whatever after they've had the dream. So to me, then the reliability of what they actually experience becomes less reliable, because to me, you need to get that information almost immediately, because if not, then you're kind of relying on your memory, and then it comes back to, well, maybe the people who are dreaming in grayscale aren't really dreaming in grayscale, they're remembering in grayscale,
Yeah,
which,
that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's fascinating. I think I haven't talked to you about this, but I'm just curious if this is connected in some way. I have mentioned aphantasia in I think my intro video to this podcast. Have you heard of aphantasia first, I guess is what I should start with.
Yes.
You have
Yeah.
heard of aphantasia. You listened to the intro video. Um, I guess that's a yes.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So, aphantasia being the inability to voluntarily create images in your mind's eye, it's fascinating to myself and anybody that I talk to about aphantasia or I tell them about it, because the first question they ask is like, "Well, do you dream?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." And my dreams are so vivid and so real. Um, but I wonder, like, I wonder if there's any connection to aphantasia and dreaming in color or grayscale, but I actually haven't asked. I assume you can create images in your mind's eye.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's easier when I'm, I suppose, in a more relaxed state and, there's less distractions. Yeah, for sure. And I think, not I think, I know it's in color when I do imagine these things.
Hmm. Oh, that's
So
interesting.
so
Huh.
maybe like when I'm remembering my dreams, I just remember I'm not remembering the colors because colors maybe are not relevant to me.
Hmm.
Like it's not part of my awareness even when I'm awake. Like if I
Hmm.
was to describe something, I probably wouldn't talk about color as much as it'd probably be more to do with feeling.
Hmm.
So, you know, I don't know, that's that's a potentially what we take notice of, not necessarily that we dream in black and white is what we take notice of, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, this comes back to all dreams being like personal, and one thing that I've noticed with the 10,000 dreams interpreted by Pamela Ball, and then the PDF that you sent me yesterday, which was the dream language, I think it was called. I forget who the author is.
Yeah.
We can
Yep.
put reference to those in the show notes, but um, each of these resources, one of the things that they keep on saying, and they're talking about the dream language, is that it's like a language that's individual, as in it really is individual. It pertains to a particular individual. And it's because, like, they give a reference of a baby, and I don't remember the full analogy, but when when there's a baby, first taking in its surroundings and everything, it can't speak. So it can only like look and observe and take all that information in. And there's like kind of that like wonder and exploratory aspect of it. Oh, what's that thing? And what's that thing? But it doesn't have a language to express it. And as we get older and we are able to speak and whatnot, there's a lot of the taking in our surroundings and, kind of categorizing it and processing it. All of that becomes automatic, especially where we have language to supplement in there. But then when you're focusing on your dreams are kind of, or decoding your dreams are like, not saying that it's like being a baby, but it's that same mental process where you're observing and taking things in and trying to figure out what it means. And so what something means for one person may be different for another person. And I feel like I had a point to this whole tangent that I've gone off on here. Um, I think it
It's
just,
there. Dreams are individual, I guess. Yeah,
yeah, dreams are individual, and all of these resources that we have, they're good, and they're kind of taking like, if they surveyed, I'm going to use a small number, but it should be a larger sample size. But let's say they surveyed 100 people, the average of that 100 people, this particular symbol means this, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that symbol is going to be mean a certain thing for everybody. And
yeah.
the 10,000 Dreams Interpreted book actually has uh like if you were to look up, I don't know, a balloon as that was your dream symbol and you want to look up balloon, then actually maybe we should do that. But if you were to look it up, it'll actually give you three different kind of interpretations. They'll give you the most common one, and then they'll give you a couple others that are less common and probably a little deeper as well, because they actually have one that's like a spiritual definition as well, whatever that means. I'm still working through the book, so I'm not fully adept yet though. Um,
Cool. Yeah, that's
yeah,
cool. I do have one thing to say, like, and we can look this one up in the book. But we were talking about one of my dreams. It was the recording that didn't come through.
yeah, yeah.
About a
Oh yeah.
snake in my dream, and you mentioned that it could be to do with fear. And
Mm,
I'm not scared of snakes, so you know, is it still fear then? And what if someone dreams of a snake but has never actually seen one in real life, or
mm.
they haven't grown up with snakes around them. So they would have a different interpretation of the snake. Is um the fear of snakes, is that a perception that's come from other people and not necessarily you?
Well,
So
it might have been
yes.
it's came from my interpretation, right? So,
Yeah, so but yeah, so like in the book, is that like that's just a general perspective, but not necessarily like everyone. Like you say, it's individual. But like, yeah, a lot of people say if there's a snake in your dream, it's to do with fear. And
yeah, well,
yes,
I mean,
that's
while you were
interesting.
talking, I was like quickly flipping through the book, so we can go ahead and read. So there's a couple of things. So there's serpent, but then it says also to see snake. So um I can read what the serpent says and then what snake says.
Yeah, sure, go for it.
So under serpent, it says the serpent is a universal symbol which can be male or female, or it can be self-created. It can signify death or destruction, or conversely, life and also rejuvenation. It is the instinctive nature, and it is also potential energy. When the power of this instinctive nature is understood and harnessed, the dreamer comes to terms with his or her own sexuality and sensuality and is able to make use of the higher and more spiritual energies which become available. Well, that's interesting. Um,
Oh, if the serpent showed up in my dream, I wouldn't take that as the meaning.
yeah, yeah. But you said it was a an actual snake and not a serpent, right? What is the difference
Yeah,
between a snake and a serpent? Is a serpent just bigger?
I don't know. Is it a serpent like, I don't actually know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I'm not even going to try and make something up, but yeah.
No, okay. Oh, that's funny. Okay, well we'll go with snake because you I think you referred to it as a snake and not a serpent, right?
Yeah, it was a python, so it was a
Yeah,
big,
big
big
python
one.
snake. Okay. So snake dreams occur like serpent dreams when the dreamer is attempting to come to terms with his or her more instinctive self. Inevitably, this has to do with the recognition and harnessing of energies which have been suppressed and thwarted. Since the most primal urge is sexuality, the image of the snake is the most primitive one available. And that's pretty much it. And then they have like a couple different scenarios, but I don't think any of these scenarios apply. So, a snake twined around a body, a snake leaving a corpse by its mouth, a snake in the grass, uh a snake with its tail in its mouth being swallowed by a snake, being twinned around a staff or similar. So yeah, none of those really apply to your situation. But what
Yeah,
stood out to
that's
me was
interesting.
yeah, what stood out to me was the topic of suppressed and thwarted uh what was that? Just energies because you
Yeah,
talk about having repressed memories and stuff, which I guess a memory technically is a form of energy because everything is energy. So, yeah, but how does that sit with
there
you?
you go. We've just deciphered my whole being. They're done. All right, next.
Next. Next. Well, I mean, you know what it is, but it doesn't necessarily help you deal with it, I guess. That for lack of a better, I don't know. Yeah. It's
It's like, and I suppose like our dreams are, we already know everything we need to know. It's the dreams are bringing awareness to the things that we're either deliberately ignoring, have been suppressed, um, some sort of manipulation or some or whatever it is. That's just bringing awareness to those things. So, you know.
yeah. So I wonder now, will you start dreaming in color? Like, okay, I know I have repressed dreams. Give me color. Help me figure stuff out. Have you
Well,
ever?
like we
Oh, sorry.
well, I was gonna say, like with what we spoke last time, that just intention. Like if I put that intent out that I'm gonna dream in color, and I already put that intention out there before we started that I'm gonna remember my dreams,
Mm.
even just for tonight at least. I'm gonna remember my dream, and yeah, see how that goes. So,
And has that
anyway,
been
you go.
helping?
What you gonna say? I'm only just starting it tonight and see how that goes.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't remember what I was going to say, but something else. Um, something else had come up because you and I in the past week, we can probably talk a little bit about this, have been trying, it's almost like trying something without being taught. We're just going to try to figure it out on our own. But we've been trying all week to send each other telepathic dream messages. And of course, we haven't figured it out yet. Um, but it's funny because, I was trying to send you messages, but my messages I was sending had the intention of being in color. And this was before I knew that you didn't dream in color. So I'm like, not saying that that's why the messages didn't come through, but I'm really curious that when, and I say when because I'm confident that we will be able, the more we build a connection, everything, we will be able to send each other messages. It's the intent, right? Um, will the messages arrive to you in color or will they arrive in grayscale?
That's a thing to ponder, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 for sure.
So what did we decide? We're gonna do it like just when we're awake and just having conversations. And I was listening to a podcast which I think I might have sent through to you, but I only got was only 40 minutes into it, and it was a I forget the guy, the interviewer, but this gentleman, Edwin C something. Anyway, he worked for like what's it called, the Stargate project for the CIA,
Oh,
and he done all these different experiments and about remote viewing and that sort of thing. And he did a bit of an exercise during the interview, and I was like, oh, that's perfect for what we're doing. Because he asked the gentleman, all right, so just I want you to picture or have in your mind the picture I'm going to show you in 15 minutes. I want you to like draw it like with pictures or words or anything like that. So I was giving him the task to the intention. All right, you're going to picture this, and so he did that, and then they stopped, and then he asked him again, and he's like, "Oh, I want you to do that again. I'm going to show you a picture in 10 minutes." And it was the same photo he was going to show him, and he was like 50% accurate with the photo. So I was like, even just starting an exercise like that, you're just kind of provoking your intuitive thoughts to come through and not try and overthink what comes through. So I think this could help with what we're doing is like connecting with ourselves to not overthink it and just let things flow.
yeah,
So
absolutely. I think we were supposed to do that before we started recording today, but things started a little differently this morning
that's all
than
right.
planned. So, well, this morning, night for you, it could be afternoon for somebody else listening to this when they do. So, um,
Yes.
but no, that's really interesting. And I'm not exactly sure if I fully followed your explanation of the experiment. So the picture that was being shown to the person who had to draw and write it down, did the picture giver or shower, did they know what the picture was? And was the point for the person to try, the person who was writing it all down, was that his um like was it practicing his memory recall or I'm really sorry. Somehow I've missed the
No,
point.
that's all right. That's okay. So he like the guy with the photo, he already knew what the photo was,
Okay.
but he didn't show him straight. Like he's asking him if he could um basically remote view, but like you use his intention to see the image before he saw it.
Okay,
So
so he was basically you have the guy looking at the picture basically, and then the other person is just trying to energetically kind of
yeah,
get what that was and write it down. And you said he was like
yeah,
50% accurate, or he became
yeah,
50% accurate. So
yeah.
does
So
that
that
mean
by
like,
the second time he added an extra few details, and that helped him to get a similar picture. So he like almost he's drawing a building, and it end up the photo there was buildings in the photo. So,
hmm,
that's you can say that's just a coincidence, but it could have been anything. It could have been he drew trees and then there
hmm,
was no trees in the photo. So for it to be very similar in that sense, that's just the power of our ability to connect with, I suppose, the energy field around us. And that's
yeah,
why I thought maybe just that could help with us, what we're our little experiment, that us connecting while we're awake and chatting before we try to do it in our dreams.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Because then we'll already have that energetic connection established, I
yeah.
guess. We gotta build the highway first before we can travel it.
So
Just a
hopefully the
friend.
people listening understand what we're jabbering on about.
Yeah, yeah, right. It actually reminds me of a friend of mine. She actually got to go see, do you know who Darren Brown is? And it's Darren
No.
Brown, not Dan Brown, who is an author. But so Darren Brown is it's kind of a hypnotist, deals with kind of, you know, I would say intuitive abilities. And she got to go to one of his shows, and afterwards you could go up to like meet them, and they would try to they would try to like kind of read your mind in a kind of way. And so she actually got to meet him, and the question for every single person that came by was like, okay, think of a number, and then I'll try to, and he would like stare in their eyes, and then he's like, and I'll try to guess the number that you're, well, guess, I don't know if guess is the right word to use there. Try to read what the number is that you're thinking of. And her number was 17, and he had come back and said 71, which is like he got the one and the seven. He just didn't know what the order was. So I thought that was pretty close. Would be nice
Yeah,
if
there you
it
go.
was more than, but I guess that would be the 50%, right? Got half
Yeah.
of it right, got the one and the seven, but
Yeah. And like there's people say that, there's like psychics, there's people that are only able to be have those psychic abilities. But I think we all have the ability to you know, tap into what's available in whatever way. So through our dreams while we're awake, the psychic abilities, medium, remote viewing, all these sorts of things. I think we all have the ability to do it, and it's just practice and tapping into it. Like, if you've never dreamed before, you don't remember your dreams, that's probably because you haven't really paid attention. So if you just pay attention to it, then you can learn to do it a little bit better. So for our intention to be able to connect more is all we really need. So
yeah,
yeah,
that totally resonates with me 100%. And um yeah, I mean, we all have this little voice inside, right? We all, you know, you're I don't know, you're driving a car and you're like, oh, should I take a left here, or should I take a right, or should I go straight? You've got this like voice that'll kind of guide you. It's an internal compass. And that's often what we call our intuition. And if we all innately have that little guiding compass and voice, to me, that is the psychic abilities, if you will. It's and I'm gonna go off on a little bit of a limb now because I know that some people are not all for psychic mediumship, and they have, different vibes that they feel with that. That's why I often use the term intuitive instead of psychic, and it's mostly
yeah.
because psychic puts people off. Because they think it's like, oh, you have to read the future, and you got this crystal ball, and gonna be telling everybody reading tarot. Yeah, yeah, exactly. No, we're not gonna be putting the videos up this morning, but Billiana was making notions that she was reading a crystal ball in front of her. So
Like
just
stroking the ball.
yeah.
Give me your what? Give
Yeah.
me your information. Yes.
Which is funny. I was in a shop on the weekend, and I actually saw a crystal ball, and I was just like I took a second glance and I was like, no. Um but yeah, so for me, psychic abilities does not translate to, oh, you need to be able to read the future and predict things. And a lot of times when you hear of psychics like in the media or in TV and stuff, they're often being used to help find, solve some crime investigation or something like that. And at least in the movies and TV, it's usually portrayed, kind of in an unreliable way, I would say, which then paints this ugly picture of psychics across what I would call the
Yeah.
skeptics out there. But, and we've all had, oh, this comes up for me. I know I'm jumping all over the place and I apologize, but um, it's come up for me in the past where, you know, my grandmother would meet somebody. And then that person would leave, and my grandmother would just like kind of shiver, and she's like, "Oh, that guy gave me the creeps. There's something off about him." And everybody takes that as like, "Oh, that's grandmother wisdom. She knows best." But I really see it as intuition and being able to sense energies. Like that's what she was doing. And people in general have that ability to be able to discern if somebody's a good person or a bad person, if they have good intentions or bad intentions. And to me, that again is intuitive sensing. And like what you said, it all comes down to whether or not we pay attention and focus and practice on those abilities. And I know my fiance is definitely a skeptic. I'm trying my best to to convince him. And I've definitely have tried things with him where I'd be like, "Oh, okay, well think of a number and I'll try to, see what number you're thinking about." And of course, I didn't get it right. He's like, "See, it doesn't work." And I was like, "Well," and I use this analogy a lot with him. It's like, this ability, this intuitive sensing and trying to read energies and whatnot, it's not something that you just know. It is something, like you said, that you have to practice and work on. And the analogy I give to him, I was like, would you expect a toddler to just be able to jump on a bike and ride a bike? And the answer is no. There's some learning and some practicing that goes into it. And so anybody who's just starting out with their intuitive abilities, you're like the toddler. You haven't learned to ride the bike yet. You're just, maybe you got the training wheels on or something, but like
Yeah.
it's yeah. Anyway, I just went off on a big ta tangent about psychic ability or intuitive abilities. It is related
Oh,
to
well, it's
dreams.
yeah, it's definitely all relevant because whether it's awake or you're asleep dreaming, it's all relevant because we're still who we are when we're asleep, and we are still awake, but our minds, oh well, I don't know, something's asleep. I don't know what you'd call it. Your brain's is no, your brain's not even asleep, but yeah, I don't
I
know.
would say honestly, I feel like maybe it's your left brain that's asleep.
Yes, yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Or
so
some people
like
would call it
everything
monkey
else
brain,
is,
but
but yeah, it's still your subconscious and is it, and your even your body is still awake because or even yeah, you move around when you're asleep or you're sleep talking or all these sorts of things. And so yeah, it's just tapping into that and being more aware of it and um yeah, practicing to try and remember. So yeah, for those people that don't dream, just put the intention out there to dream and yeah, see what comes out if you dream in color, black and white,
yeah. Okay.
stick figures, who would know?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so that brings up, I really wanted to bring this up because this is something I don't think I've told you yet. I was gonna text you yesterday. I'm like, no, I'm gonna leave it for the podcast. Um,
Yes.
so we've talked about
Juicy.
color being normal, I would say. I don't like to say that word normal because I don't think it's right, but we'll say the majority of people seem to dream in color. And then black and white. what I wrote down was that it means like it's some sort of lesson, perhaps, which kind of on the notion for you that you feel that it's having to deal with repressed dreams. So to me, that would be like a lesson that needs to be recognized.
Yep, yep.
I have in the last few months on at least two different occasions have dreamt, and it's mind-boggling, and I was so much fun to dream this. I have dreamt in cartoon, which is
Cool.
like the most craziest thing ever, and it was just so much fun. And some of it was like the first time it happened, it was like I think this is the first time. It was like literally like cartoon, like well-known cartoon characters. Like, you've got like Aladdin and whatnot. And I just remember this one part where it was like the genie and it was like running away from its lamp or something like that. But this was actually in my dream state that I was, you know, uh having this experience. And another one,
It's
this one
cool, hey.
was, yeah, it was so cool. And I like almost every time I go to sleep, I'm like, I want to dream a cartoon. That's so much fun. Um, and then there was this other time which didn't really make, and I don't know if I'm like, if it's like me being an observer. So this comes into my question to you earlier this week as well, which we haven't talked about, which is perspective dreaming. Like, are you dreaming in first person, third person, bird's eye view, that sort of thing? So we're going to talk about this. When I dreamt in the cartoon, it was almost like me watching a movie. So it's like through my eyes. So I'm not like, it's not like I see my body or anything like that. It's like I'm observing it, but from first perspective, I guess. So this other one was interesting because it was almost like I was in a car just kind of driving by, and it was like billboards that were all cartoon. And I can't remember the specifics of the billboards, but it was different billboards, and there was like a big time clock in the middle. And it was also weird. There was also this what I do remember one word, and it said geographical, which is so weird. But yeah, but it was all cartoon, which was fascinating.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Maybe I'll put that intention out there one day. I want a dreaming cartoon.
Yeah, give me some color. I mean, maybe that's the bridge, right? Yeah. Um, but yeah, so I guess coming back to perspective, we can talk a little bit about perspective dreaming.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. What I say was, yeah, first person and bird's eye view. So yeah, that's I do a lot of bird's eye view, and yeah, and I think it's when I put the intention before I go into sleep that I want to figure something out, or I want to resolve something, then I'm watching a situation, what's the word? Trying to yeah resolve a certain situation or something I haven't figured out. So I'm like just observing the situation. Whereas if it's like I haven't put the intention out there, then I feel like I'm in the dream. I'm part of it. I'm
Mm,
acting out everything in the dream. So yeah.
it's interesting. So yeah, what do I have to say on that? I feel like I have a couple things to say.
And that comes down to straight away that you purposely like your intention is so important because
Mm,
and that's to with your lucid dreaming, if you want to lucid dream and be able to partake in your dream and feel like you're awake, I guess the intention is important before you go to sleep. So
yeah, well, I mean, all of this intention is absolute key, and intention is so powerful, and it kind of comes down to um like indirectly, I guess, like the law of attraction in that, your thoughts become things. So where you put your energy, where you put your intent can, you know, become reality, I guess, in a way. But does that mean that our dreams can be reality?
Yeah. Yep, definitely. And before we started like recording, you were talking about our words, like how words are important. And
Hmm.
even probably in all the, the ancient scripts and the religious texts, about the word, like our word is powerful. And I hear it a lot, like on different podcasts. And, you know, so your intention is you may not say it out loud, but if you're imagining it or you're saying it in your head, it's still words. So, it's there's themes like constantly in movies and songs and books, and so there's something to it then. We can't be like imagining that.
No, definitely. There's definitely, uh, I had this conversation with my fiance recently about because I'm still trying to get him to, see the world a little differently, I guess, in terms of energy and that sort of thing. And he does agree that, everything is energy, so that's good. Um, but it was talking about how, there are some songs out there that you hear it and you just instantly get emotional. You have some kind of, somatic reaction to it. And I think that that's twofold. I think one, it's the words, but two, it's the intention that was put into those words. And it could be that you're also picking up on the energy itself. And the third part is it's how it resonates with you. Like I I could read something and then I'm thinking about how I felt in that situation or something. I guess that would be being empathetic. And then that would, you know, cause that reaction and gone a little far away from dreams here.
It's all relevant, and like, yeah, dreams you can't just talk about like when you're asleep, and then how to interpret your dreams, because like we say, it's all to do with the individual. So I
Mm,
suppose that's when, like what we're talking about, it's your intuition, it's how you interpret the world when you're awake, it's how you um see yourself, you know, what your experiences. So it's everything we're talking about, it's relevant because our dreams are uh made up of who we are. So it's just a
mm.
basically mirroring, just in a different language, basically, that we have to decipher or, you know, yeah, learn to figure out. It's kind of like when you were saying when you're like a baby, you can't talk straight away. So, but in a way, the baby can understand the world around it, but it can't express itself. It
Mm.
just needs time to be able to learn to talk, and then it can express itself with what they perceive, what they experience, and everything. So you could look at that way as with dreams as well, I guess.
So we have
That makes
to,
sense.
yeah, no, I think that makes sense. It's like we're currently in the stage of, the dreams are being presented to us and we're in the observing stage. And then to take it a step further, you have to figure out how to interpret the language of the dream, I guess. You have to learn the language of the dream to then be able to code what it's saying. And that takes time and practice to build that repertoire, much like a baby, a baby in the beginning being able to express itself. Usually the first words typically are, dada or mom or, something along those lines, and that's all they can say. until they build more and more vocabulary and they learn, okay, that's a banana or that's a dog or whatever it may be. And I guess kind of like us with dreams, we're like for you and the snake, you know, the snake in your dream is not a snake. It means something totally different. And one of the suggestions, and I can't remember if this was in the 10,000 Dreams book or the dream language book you sent, but it suggested one of the things that you can start doing, and it's by having like a dream diary or log or whatnot, is to just start building kind of your dream dictionary, building your dream repertoire, your language base, I guess, where once you figure out what something meant for you, then you can, you write it down and check, okay, we've got that. So then the next time that comes up, you have an idea of what it meant. But it all definitely requires work and effort and practice and intention, as you've mentioned. Um, and I'm reminded of, I mean, dreams have been fascinating me for a very long time, but it's really been the last like 6 or 7 months that I've like really have started to decode, like want to learn more and want to actually decode them, and then got the idea for this podcast and all of that good stuff. But I was talking to a couple of family members several months ago. They were visiting and we were talking about dreams and whatnot, and both of them were like, "Oh no, we don't remember our dreams." And I was trying to tell him like, well, you have to like as soon as you wake up, you have to like pretty much replay your whole dream or like, remember whatever it is that you can think of and write it down if you need to or whatnot. And then setting that intention and practicing that over time, it's going to come easier and you won't have to work as hard and you'll be able to remember it. And even just over the course of a couple days, I notice a change in them remembering their dreams. And they would, the first night, I would get up the first thing in the morning and I'd come upstairs and I'd ask them like, oh, it's like, so did you dream last night? What did you dream about? And ask them the question. And they're like, oh no, I don't remember. And then like 2 or 3 days later, after me constantly prompting them, it was, oh, I don't remember. And then it was, oh, actually, I do remember this and this and this happened. So setting these intentions, I feel, are really, it's like rewiring your brain or training your brain to think in a particular way. And it just takes some time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I like that. Cool.
Yeah, cool. We've covered a lot of ground today.
I know, we just like go on tangents, but yeah, we always kind of come back and yeah, you like when you mentioned it, like we go on tangents
Uh,
and said like I don't like unfinished conversations. That's what I can bring it back.
I know it really, I'm a big tangent goer, like huge,
Yeah.
huge tangent. Because I don't know, just in conversations in general, I get like my brain wants to go in like 10 different directions. And then, I'll pick one direction and then I'm like, oh, but I really want it to go on that direction. So I like hop over to the other direction. And so, I kind of zigzag around, but then it's gotta come it all back or bring it all back together. Sorry. And you are very
Yeah.
good at bringing it all back together. So I think this is why I needed a podcast host, and I'm so happy to have you
Yeah,
as my host and joining me
yes,
with this journey.
and I appreciate it. So yeah, it's good. But yeah, I find like it, and it was a comedian that I used to watch. I forget his name, but he used to do the same thing. He'd get like have on a massive tangent, and then he comes back to his original thing. You're like, geez, he's got a great memory, but he's probably practiced all that
Yeah,
for months and months.
I don't know if I have a great memory or just I don't know. I don't know what you would call it. A brain that likes to jump around, that's for sure, and likes
Yeah,
to change things. And but I also just enjoy sharing, and if I have insight that can help somebody in some way, that is really my driving force, I would say. Um, and I also think that when I'm jumping all over the place, it's really me tapping into my experiences in some way, right? And just trying to, bring it all together. If you think of like everything that you've ever experienced in your life as being this web where each individual point would be that that particular experience, that web of experience, I say web for a reason because it's not linear. It could be, an easy way to do it would be like chronological, which is, this happened at point A, and then, in the next step in the line, point B and point C. But it would take you forever just to, scroll through the line to get to where you need to be, right? So to think of your experiences as a web, and when a topic comes up, there are more than one point in the web that can be related to that particular topic. And so I think what happens is just really weird how I'm going on about this right now, but you know, think of a topic and it's almost like my brain does like a thought burst or what do you call it? A thought web, really. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's connected to all these different things, but then these things can be connected here. And that's why I jump all over the place. So it's like my brain is doing a live thought web.
And I think that's how like powerful we are, is we can see how all these things are connected, and that's
Mm.
why we can't think on just a linear. We're not supposed to, and that's not how life is. It's not just straight line. Everything is connected in so many different ways, and that's how our brain works, because we can see the different links to how everything's related. So I enjoy when we go like all over the place, because it's yeah, it's kind of how I think anyway.
And I enjoy watching you or listening to you take my crazy thought web and tangent and then just bring it all back into the nice little point that we were trying to make. And you did that just then. And I was just here. I don't know if you saw me smiling the whole time you were doing it. I'm like, she's doing it. This is just great. She's just flowing. This is fantastic.
Yeah, see, conversations.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's all part of it. Yeah.
You are a good listener and a good conversationalist. So uh that's why we
Right
make
back
a good
at you.
team. Oh,
High five.
thanks. Woohoo! Uh, that's great. Is there anything else we want to talk about today? I think we were gonna have a small podcast that's turned into a full length one, it seems.
I know. But oh well, we'll just kind of go with it, you know. Once we started talking, that like things started to flow, and yeah, get excited. And it didn't even matter. I don't even know what the time is, but like yeah, it's doesn't matter, because it's just yeah, energizing, and I probably won't sleep for another hour.
Sorry,
So
I've
yeah,
given
it's
you all my
good. No,
energy.
no, you
Oh,
probably take some notes or something, but yeah, yeah,
yeah.
that's
No,
good.
this is good. Okay. Is there anything on your heart, Billiana? I keep calling you Bibby, and I don't, or Bibby. I had like a coworker once upon a time, and her name was Bibiana. And so I keep on
Ah,
wanting to call you Bibiana, but it's Billiana, and I don't know why my brain is messing that up. So I apologize when I mess up your name for
that's
in
right.
advance.
But I've had many nicknames growing up, so I'm used to it.
Okay, good. Well, Billiana, is
What's
there
on my
anything else
heart?
on your heart? Yes.
Um, well, in regards to, I suppose the original topic was dreaming in color. For those listening, I don't think it matters whether you dream in color or black and white or a little bit in between. I think it's just all part of the process of trying to figure out and basically interpret your own dream. So why am I dreaming in color? Why am I dreaming like that? So it's just all part of the process. So it's not one person is more advanced or better than the other. It's just um, all part of like us interpreting and deciphering the world with the way we're capable of doing at the time. So yeah,
Yeah, beautiful. I think we can just leave it right there. And once again, you pulled it all back together. We went on so many tangents, and you come full circle to tie it up with a nice little bow about our original topic that we started this off with. So yeah, I think that's it for today. Thank you, Biljana. Thank you to our listeners at home. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. And, of course, feel free to leave us a comment, like, subscribe, any of those things if this episode really resonated with you. If you would like to have your dreams interpreted, or to have a discussion about your dreams, feel free to drop us an email at dreamoracleforyou@gmail.com. And that is the number 4 and the letter U. And with that, keep on dreaming.